Hey, welcome to the Mill Creek 50 Sci-Fi Classics tier list. This is a quickie, it's not going to be scripted. This is basically a follow-up to the big big Halloween video series that I did. And I'm doing this now so that I don't ultimately forget the movies here, because God, this was a wretched experience. I went into this set with optimism, but I'm gonna be real, a lot of these movies were pretty friggin' bad. I'm gonna go through the tiers first. Decent, this is the highest grade I can give a movie here. I think this is going to be the least populated tier because there were only a couple of movies I thought were okay. So bad it's good. This is the second tier because this is the tier where I get the second most enjoyment. Middling, as in there is usually nothing to really talk about on this tier. Horrendous. It's borderline unwatchable. It's pretty fucking bad. And the final tier is the jungle adventure movie / I didn't finish it tier. Because, full disclosure, I didn't finish some of these. And I think it shows in my reviews of the films that I didn't really finish. I think I'm going to start off by categorizing the jungle adventure movies / movies I didn't really finish so that I can move on to the films that I actually have something to talk about. White Pongo, this goes at the bottom. I started watching this, I watched about 10 minutes of it, realized there wasn't really anything science fiction in it. I skimmed through the rest of it, there was nothing. Why is this on a science fiction box set? I want to know. Giants of Rome, I started this and I realized that it was not going to make for a very fun review. I was just going to be bitching the whole time saying, why isn't it sci-fi? So I just opted to talk about Robot Monster instead. Oh, by the way, I'm not including Robot Monster and Zontar on this list because they weren't technically in the box set. At the very end, I will sort of digitally add them to where I think they should go. Queen of the Amazons. This is another jungle adventure movie. I watched about 30 minutes of this, skimmed through the rest. It was pretty fucking bad. By the way, the leftmost ones are the higher tier, the higher quality. The ones towards the right are the lower of the tier. Hercules and the Pirates of Babylon. This is a really lame one. I spent most of the review of it talking about how I don't care for sword and sandal movies, and there's just straight up no science fiction elements in this one. Sons of Hercules, it's another fucking Hercules movie. I watched like 50 minutes of it, and just as it was about to end, I was like, you know what? This isn't going to be a very fun review. I'll just mention it in passing. In fact, I had more written about it, but I realized that because I didn't finish it, it wouldn't feel like a complete review, so I just moved on. Wild Women of Wongo, this is a pretty fucking bad movie. I did finish this, and it was really miserable. The acting across the board was atrocious, which does have its ironic charm because everyone sounds so wooden, but it was not very fun. Prehistoric Women, this is worse than Wild Women of Wongo. In fact, I think I'd put Hercules above it. And Sons of Hercules. Yeah, that's about fair. The color on this print that I watched was really faded and ugly. It was weirdly sexist. Lost Jungle, this goes pretty far down. Yeah, nah. I watched about 30 minutes of this, and it's just so dated. And with that, I think it is time to move on to the movies that I have something to say about. Assignment Outer Space is... yeah, it's pretty horrendous. It wasn't very exciting. The action set pieces on Mars were pretty funny. It does have a little bit of that funny so bad it's good charm in some scenes, but most of it is just people in rooms talking. In cramped rooms, may I add. So the set design wasn't very good either. Blood Tide, this is a little more middling. James Earl Jones was pretty good in it. The rest of the cast, not so much. I didn't really care for any of the characters, and some were just clearly written to die later. The monster was cool, I guess, but we didn't really see much of it, which would be fine in a good movie because, you know, it's building tension around and not seeing the monster. My clear go-to example for that is the xenomorph from Alien. We don't see much of it until the end. We see bits and pieces of it because it's effectively building a scene around its form not being completely visible. This is a failed case of that. Oh, right, Colossus and the Amazon Queen. I completely forgot about this. I also did not finish it because I realized it was going to be really miserable. Because with bad movies, it's better if they're being sincere, like everyone is dead serious. But when you make a bad comedy, it's just fucking miserable to sit through, and this is one of those cases. War of the Planets, yeah, this is worse than Assignment Outer Space. It's in the horrendous category. I liked the silly men in green paint with pointy ears. That's fun, and I also enjoyed the Bach music. The rest is just really boring. Are you detecting a pattern here? I'm gonna say, all the Gamera movies, they're indecent, and that is purely a bias. I think Attack of the Monsters is a little better than Destroy All Planets. I think Gamera the Invincible it's a little better than both. This is purely my bias for kaiju movies speaking. I like Gamera as a monster. I think all of his foes are interesting and cool. But yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. Iga. Poor Iga. It's on the higher end of horrendous. It's mostly cringeworthy. It's a cringeworthy movie. The musical numbers are terrible. The script is really corny and bad. The best thing it has going for it is that it's interesting to see Richard Kiel in an early role. This movie is like babysitting a really annoying kid. Warning from Space. This is a genuinely pretty decent little movie. It's not great. It doesn't really have a cast of memorable characters, but the sense of dread in the final act is very effective. I also really like the starfish aliens, the Pyrans. They are a memorable creature. First spaceship on Venus is... it's middling. It's fine. It's whatever. It didn't really have any characters I liked. My brain kind of glazed over as I was watching it because I realized it was going to be a repeat of Assignment Outer Space, which already wasn't a very good movie. But this has more going for it on the production side of things. I like the look of Venus. The little alien guys that are there are cool. Hercules Against the Moonmen is pretty bad. The blend of science fiction and fantasy is a good idea, but this movie's idea of fantasy is just a generic sword and sandals location with magic, I guess. Hercules and the Captive Women is, I guess it's middling. Whatever. The version of it I was watching was muffled and had a ugly transfer. I liked the fight scene with the giant lizard person. Whatever. Hercules Unchained, it's a bit above Hercules and the Captive Women. The cinematography was nice. I liked the camera work. That's about it. Horrors of Spider Island is a little bit above Hercules Against the Moonmen. It's weird and sexist, but I thought the makeup on the monster was pretty good. Yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. Killers from Space is the first in the so bad it's good camp. There is some entertainment value in the alien designs that I just kept giggling whenever it cut back to them. They were good. I liked them. Laser Mission. I'd say this is at the higher end of middling. I feel like I talked it up too much during the review because outside of Brandon Lee, there really isn't that much to this one. The action scenes, in comparison to everything else in this box set, made this one stand out because there is a production quality to this. They did a good job with them. For the most part, they're kind of badly edited. This whole movie is kind of badly edited. Most of the supporting cast is pretty bad. I have mixed feelings about it. Mesa of Lost Women, right at the bottom of horrendous. Not a second went by in this movie where I was having fun. And it's all because of that fucking soundtrack. It drills itself into your brain and it never, ever, ever lets go. It is fucking awful. The acting across the board is wooden and terrible. Just fuck this movie. Moon of the Wolf, this was on the lower end of decent. I thought it moved at a decent pace. It wasn't great. The werewolf at the end looked kind of stupid, but the cast was decent. Yeah, it's fine. I wouldn't say it's bad. Phantom from Space, this is like pretty far down here. I'd say it's above Hercules Against the Moon Men. It had a guy in a dinky spacesuit running around. It had a lot of characters talking in one or two rooms. That was literally 80% of the runtime. And it wasn't even, like, good dialogue either. It's the kind of movie that makes you feel like you wasted your time. Planet Outlaws. This was kind of horrendous. I don't know. It's on the upper end, I guess, because it's taking something that used to be okay and turning it into a incomprehensible clusterfuck. It took a 4-hour serial and turned it into an hour-long film, and it shows. Crash of the Moons, it's on the lower end of middling, and so is Menace from Outer Space. I didn't care for any of them, and I kind of wanted them to be over 10 minutes into both of them. I did finish both of them. I can see why this television show, this Rocky Jones Space Ranger, was forgotten. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is in the So Bad It's Good camp, but I watched this one with friends. I have seen this movie before, so I do know what the solo experience is like. This is a movie that needs other people to watch it with, because otherwise it is a miserable experience. But it is strange and bizarre and badly directed in ways that make it creepy and weird, and it does have that silly charm to it. She Gods of Shark Reef, if you can even read it in that fucking thumbnail, didn't belong in this box set. You know what? I'll put it down here. Didn't belong here. Get that shit out of here. If you don't have any shark girls, then just get the fuck out. Snow Beast is pretty middling. It's a little better than a lot of these because it has, I don't know, it has some production design. But it really needed to show more of the monster at the end. The cast was fine, I guess. It's too basic. I thought it was too basic. There wasn't really much to it outside of it being a crappy Jaws knockoff. Teenagers from Outer Space, this is at the highest point in So Bad It's Good. This movie is a bop, as the kiddos used to say in the time it was made. Dialogue is really corny and fun. I love the special effects on the giant lobster monsters. And it does kind of end on a bittersweet note. Like, I kind of cared about what was happening at the end. Also, the anecdote about the director claiming to be Jesus Christ II was too funny to not include in the video. The Alpha incident, it's a little bit, it's edging on horrendous, because it is a bad movie, but a lot, it's high up there on horrendous. I liked the gore effects. I thought those were fun. I'm struggling to remember what happened to the... Right, there was a guy, there was a drunken hillbilly man who accidentally releases the virus, and he infects his room of people, and every person there is unpleasant to watch. And the movie ends at some point. It also rips off Night of the Living Dead. The Amazing Transparent Man is on the higher end of middling. No, it's a little below Blood Tide. It's a little below Snow Beast. The Amazing Transparent Man, I don't know, it was fast. It was over quickly. It was 57 minutes long. The effects weren't bad, I guess. Moving on. The Astral Factor is... Ooh, this one was a struggle. This one was a struggle. None of the characters were fun to watch. The fashion was just ugly. It kind of reminded me of Giallo films, but with a really ineffective and boring killer. Yeah, this one wasn't very good. The Atomic Brain is pretty horrendous. I'd say it's below Horrors of Spider Island. It's below Horrors of Spider Island, but it's a bit above Phantom from Space. It's a high concept. I think the idea of an old lady trying to take a younger body is creepy and weird, but it makes for a good horror movie. And this could have been a good horror movie, but it wasn't very good. It had this really annoying soundtrack that punctuated everything like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Yeah, this one was really lame. The Brain Machine, it's somehow worse than Mesa of Lost Women. I don't know how they did it. Nothing really happens in this one. It's just a bunch of boring characters, and yeah, what happened in this movie? Galaxy Invader, top tier, so bad it's good. I'll just put it at the top. It's got a bunch of wacky characters. They're all overacted. The wardrobe especially is just so samey and plain. You don't see anyone wearing designer tees in this movie. Just a bunch of plaid and ripped shirts. They couldn't really decide whether the alien was good or bad or not because it kills some people in the opening, but then it's helping them out at the end. I don't know, it could have been like a situational thing, whatever. I wish I saw this one with a group and recorded it because it could have been a fun part of the video. Incredible Petrified World is... I hated every second of this one. It's so poorly paced, the acting... I don't know, I guess John Carradine was fine. Nothing happened in this movie. Nothing of note happened in this movie. There was a lizard they encountered, and there was a creepy old man, I guess. Stupid movie. Phantom Planet. It's on the higher end of horrendous. The monster at the end was goofy, but none of the characters were really likable at all. So, there it goes. The Snow Creature. Pretty fucking bad. I'd say it's a little bit better than Phantom from Space. The first half of the movie was just a bunch of rock climbing, and the rest couldn't really save it. Wasp Woman, it has so bad it's good potential. I'll put it up there just to be nice to it. I forgot to mention in the review that it was directed by Roger Corman. It's not one of his better movies, but the Wasp Woman herself is a cool enough design. Ultimately though, like, Janice Starling didn't really deserve what happened to her. Usually in monster movies, there's something that goes wrong to someone who has hubris, but Janice Starling was just doing it for her dying company. And she gets turned into a wasp? Like, that seems kind of mean. It Came from Beyond Space is, I guess, on the higher end of middling. It takes itself very seriously, but it's a pretty whatever story, and it just comes off as cheesy in a way that isn't all that fun to watch. The directing was interesting, the camera work was unique, but neither could really save a movie with a premise this dull. Moving on, Unknown World is... it's kind of horrendous. Nothing really... I'd say it's above friggin' Incredible Petrified World. It's above Astral Factor. It was over quickly. Nothing of note really happened. They go to the center of the earth and there's underground world there. There's nothing interesting like dinosaurs or any of that other stuff that I mentioned in the review. It sure existed for an hour. I will give it that. Voyage to a Prehistoric Planet. It's a little better than for Spaceship on Venus, I guess. It's a little better than Amazing Transparent Man. I liked the production design more than the movie surrounding it. And while I'm at it, I'll put Voyage to a Planet of Prehistoric Women here too, because it stays bottom because the narration was annoying. I was about to rank it higher because it had hot babes in it, but it couldn't really save the movie because presentation was really annoying with the narration. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Now these final two movies I didn't really talk about that much during the marathon because I already covered them in my monkey movie video. But Kong Island is like pretty bottom tier. It's pretty fucking bad. It's technically a jungle adventure movie, but I'll put it here because it has science fiction elements in it. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I will say it is it's mostly incomprehensible, largely in part due to the shitty transfer. It's fucking awful. Bride of the Gorilla, it's above Planet Outlaws, I'd say. The implication that white people shouldn't stay in the jungle too long or they'll start turning into gorillas and Raymond Burr's skin starts turning black is quite the choice depiction of that. But yeah, this one was pretty bad. But yeah, that is my ranking of all these movies. This box set was hell. Getting through this was a tough endeavor. The horror movie box set, I managed to blaze through that in about 3 or 4 weeks, and I pumped those videos out. This took multiple months. This was extremely arduous and trying on my mental energies. But yeah, I hope you like the tier list. I'm gonna go rest because this was really draining. Have a good night, everyone. Hey guys, it's me, Golden. I'm recording this part of the video inside of a cave. And now I will give a shout out to my $5 patrons. Ryan Santa Cruz, Avok Robot, Dante Infante, Ziggy Zigra, It's Godzi, Big Odilo, An Actual Demetrodon, CMG, Red Comet Harry, and Marpzilla. Thank you very much. Oh no, I'm falling deeper in the cave. Ah!